we'll be talking about Greek architecture and how it is seen in the modern world.
Chances are you may have come across a piece of Greek-inspired architecture. Buildings, monuments, even houses have always borrowed ideas from Greece's most famous landmarks like the Acropolis. The materials most commonly used by the Greeks when it came to constructing their structures primarily consisted of wood, unbaked bricks, limestone and marble, and terracotta and metals. Today, these supplies are still used by many contractors. Of all architectural designs used by ancient Greece throughout history, 3 major systems have withstood the test of time and are today still used. These include the Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian styles. Each order has its own definitive characteristics. However, they can also be easily confused to the untrained eye. But I'll break it down for you. The first order is the Doric style of architecture. The style is arguably the most famous Greek system used around the world today. It is what you will find when visiting the Parthenon or Acropolis, distinguished by vertical columns and a plain roof. It has also been used historically by colonies in southern Italy and Sicily and is one of the oldest architectural orders that exist today. The second style is known as the Ionic order. This style is described as more delicate, intricate, and elegant than Doric architecture. Having originated in eastern Greece, Ionic structures are believed to have become dominant during the Hellenistic period. Lastly, we have the Corinthian style of architecture. Corinthian architecture is intended to be an altered version of Ionic style. There is much detail used in the Corinthian order, although, surprisingly, it is not commonly found in Greece. In my own very house, I have Doric pillars inspired by Greek architecture in the modern day. Here we have the shaft, the pedestal, the base, and at the top we have the castle. So we're in the news broadcast car and we're about to take a trip to look for some architecture in the modern day world.
Let's hit the streets.
Let's hit the streets. Look at those pillars. Have you seen anything like that? I haven't. And there we go.
Ooh.
Another form of Greek architecture in our modern church has pillars. Comes another one. It's gonna be pillars. Pillars spotted there. Look at these pillars. Wow. What a time to be alive. Oh, more pillars. My goodness. Oh, pillars spotted again. What is going on? Pillars at Mr. Portella's house. Wow. All Doric pillars. Oh, pillars again. Oh, those are some tall pillars. Oh man, we've hit the Ionic jackpot of pillars. Whee! Oh, pillar.
Oh, look at those pillars.
Look at
Those are
those
some
pillars.
good pillars.
Okay, let's see. Those
Got some square ones over here.
pillars, are there pillars over here? No, but that house is just magic. Pillars.
Wait a minute.
But look, that house looks like it's from Greece.
Oh yeah.
So is that one.
I think we just came to Greece.
Definitely Greek architecture inspired. Oh, baby.
Ooh, what kind of pillars are these?
Look at the grooves on those pillars. Those are, I would say, Doric. In my eyes, I think I'm a pro and I could say Doric.
Oh.
Breaking news. Athenian stonemason and philosopher Socrates was tried today and put to death for corrupting Athens' youth. Socrates grew up during the role of Pericles and served as a soldier in his younger years. Now to Alepos, who is on the site of the courthouse.
Thank you, Cypros. This case goes back to the philosopher's main teaching known as the Socratic method. In this method, he would ask people in the agora through provoking questions and then questioning their answers. He wanted to challenge the implication of their answers. This was one of the citizens he questioned. With me today, I have Samantha Ventola, townsperson to Athens. She is one of the disgruntled citizens who was affected by the Greek philosopher Socrates. And here are some words she has on this.
asked me if the gods were real, and I said, of course! And then he asked me how I knew the gods were real. And I'm not sure how I knew the gods were real, actually. But it angered me, and that he even questioned the existence of the almighty gods.
Thanks, Sam, for the commentary. Here with me now, I have another Athenian who was also affected by the philosopher Socrates.
He asked me a couple questions, and honestly, I agree with the guy. Like, we don't know that the gods are real, and it's been such a long-held belief, but sometimes you just gotta ask questions, and maybe he's right. Maybe we don't have gods.
Thanks, Sean, for the comment, folks. Those were some of the comments from some angered and not so angered citizens of Athens. While most grown citizens were angered by his supposed blasphemy, the youth of Athens was particularly drawn to his teachings. Oh, look, here's Plato. Plato, do you have some commentary?
Yes, this is an outrage. How can you people say democracy is fair? A great man dies because of a bunch of uneducated people's vote? Read my book, The Republic. It explains why all of this is so wrong.
Do you deny all your teachings and the youth you have corrupted for your life?
No.
In the final vote, a larger majority of jurors favored the punishment and death of Socrates. According to the Diogenes Laertius, 360 jurors voted death. 140 voted for the fine. Under the Athenian law, you are sentenced to drinking a cup of poisoned hemlock.
Was forced to drink hemlock as his punishment and died shortly after. One of our cameramen were able to get an inside look at the final minutes of Socrates' life. Socrates spent his final hours inside a jail cell in Athens. The hemlock that ended his life did not do so painlessly, but rather by producing gradual paralysis of the central nervous system. Most scholars see the conviction and execution of Socrates as a deliberate choice made by the famous philosopher himself. If the accounts of Plato and Xenophon are reasonably accurate, Socrates sought not to persuade jurors, but rather to lecture and provoke them.
The Persian War began from one small Greek city-state. This city-state was known as Ionia. Ionia was a small Greek island. The Persians saw it as valuable territory and wanted to take it over. The Persians were successful with their takeover. Claiming it as part of their empire. Eventually, the Greeks rebel against the Persians and are unhappy with the way they're being treated. Athens sends ships to help the Greeks, but they're defeated by the Persians. The Persians punish Athens by attacking them and then soon invade Greece. Begins the Battle of Marathon. The Battle of Marathon is the first Persian War battle. The Greeks were ready to fight, and the Greeks easily defeated the Persians because of home field advantage. The Persians underestimated the Greeks and sent only a few thousand soldiers. The Persians were caught off guard and all killed. This victory leads to a morale boost for the Greek city-states, and the Persians are humiliated. Marathon. The legend connected to the battle to spread the news of victory. The Greeks sent their fastest runner, Phidippides. Phidippides ran from Marathon to Athens. He shouted, "Nike," which translated to victory. After running 26 miles, he then collapsed and unfortunately died. From there, the word Nike turned into Nike, also used as today's most famous company. 10 years after losing at Marathon, Xerxes, Darius' son, sent his best troops, called the Immortals, to invade Greece by land and sea. Xerxes had an army of 180,000 men and 600 warships. This would be the first battle Spartans took part in. The Persians were held off for 3 days until a trader named Ephaltes showed the Persians a mountain path that led to behind the Greek lines. The Battle of Thermopylae ended with every last Spartan fighting until they were killed. With the fall of Thermopylae, the Persians had an open route to Athens. By the time the Persians arrived, all the Athenians had fled to Salamis. Athens was deserted, but the Persians burned it down. Athenians fled to Salamis and watched as Athens was burned. Although the Greeks lost, the stalling of the Persians gave the Athenians invaluable time to come up with a plan to leave. The last and final battle was the Battle of Salamis. This was the turning point of the war. It was a decisive naval battle that would come to determine the outcome of the war. Themistocles, the current leader of Athens during the Persian War, had a plan to lure the Persians into the narrow strait between Salamis and the mainland. He sent his servant, pretended to be an Athenian trader, to warn the Persians that the Greeks were going to escape from Salamis during the night. This alarmed the Persian leader and told him to have his soldiers ready. The Persians had more ships than the Greeks, but they were big and clunky. This was a disadvantage. Xerxes abandoned his men when he realized he would lose and left General Mardonius in charge of the Persians. One year later. The war would officially end a year later at the Battle of Platae. Effects of the Greek victory. Had the Persians won at Salamis, it is very likely that Xerxes would have succeeded in conquering all the Greek city-states and the entire European continent. The victory increased Greeks' confidence. Up until this point, most felt the Persians were unbeatable. Greeks felt the gods helped them win. And Athens soon emerged as the leading city-state and entered a golden age. The Persian War proved to Greece that they needed to work together, so they formed an alliance called the Delian League. The Delian League was named after an island of Delos, where meetings took place. Athens dominated the League. It controlled the treasury, using money for the League to rebuild Athens. Athens forced city-states to remain in the League even when they wanted out. This formed a lot of resentment towards Athens from other Greek city-states.